I'm Elle Embers, and this is Cosmic Curiosities. Hello, curious souls, and welcome back to Cosmic Curiosities. My name is Elle, and if you would like to build on your connection between your soul and you, and are interested in how cosmic channeling, past life regression, or energetic coaching can assist you on your journey, you can send me a message on Instagram or visit my website, ellembers.com. Today, I am joined by Theta healer, Emily. Emily is a healer helping the healers and using the experience she has gained from her journey to assist others in theirs. Today we discuss a range of topics in this episode regarding healing ourselves, healing others, business, and parenting. I feel like this is something that we should be talking more about. So, let's dive in. Hi, Emily. Welcome to the show. How are you?
I am doing wonderful. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. But before we dive into everything we want to talk about, do you want to give everyone a little introduction and tell them a bit about yourself and what it is that you do?
Yeah, so my name is Emily, and I am a Theta healing practitioner and instructor. So I work with the subconscious mind in order to help women to step out of that healer's closet and successfully launch their most aligned business through subconscious programming or reprogramming.
Yeah, amazing. And I know if everyone goes back to, back in the early days of season 1, we did have another Theta healer on, Rubia, who dove into a little bit about what Theta healing is all about. But did you want to give a quick refresh and remind everyone what that's all about?
Yeah, so when we think about our own reality, it comes down to beliefs and energy. Our beliefs are those reoccurring thoughts that we have, whether they're conscious or unconscious. And then our energy is our emotions. So by altering your brainwave state to theta, you're able to actually access almost like this log of all of those beliefs that you have been holding on to, the emotions that you've been holding on to, whether they're stuck, stagnant trauma or stored emotions that are pretty much shaping the reality that you have. So through theta healing, we're able to consciously put ourselves into that space to let go of those beliefs that are no longer serving us or that are limiting us, and provide new programming to align with the reality that we want.
Amazing. Thank you for sharing. I love that. And theta was such a big thing for me. I mean, that was a big part of me starting my journey. So I love that. That is what we're here for. But you talk a lot about healing within healers. So, practitioners coming through their healing evolution to then pass this on to their clients. Can you tell us a little bit more about your work with that?
Yeah, so I remember when I first started off my healing journey and stepping into this role, I felt very alone. I felt like there wasn't a lot of that support, and I was really going in blindly and navigating, okay, well, these are the beliefs that are coming up for me, whether it is to be a healer and even just to launch my own business, because that in itself can bring up a lot of limiting beliefs. Are we good enough? Can we do this? Are people going to purchase what we have? And it was actually last August, so around when I found out that I was pregnant, that I had a lot of time to think, and I got the message from Creator, which if you guys know Theta healing, that's what we connect with, but it can be God, source, energy, universe. And I got the message, well, you need to now help the healers. So in January 2023, I made that transition to now helping healers to come out of that healer's closet, to really embody the confidence that it takes to be seen, to be heard, to ask for money, to feel worthy receiving money, as well as all of the business beliefs that come along with it that can really stop us from stepping into this role that our soul knows we're meant to do. But all of these programmings can keep us from actually fulfilling.
I mean, I'm right there with you. I definitely can relate to a lot of that starting out in my journey. And I think this is something that we are, as healers, becoming more and more aware of, that we often are feeling alone. However, that's not the case.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of what we're going through, someone else has already been through, and we can ask for support, lean on them, get advice, and help restructure the way that we're entering the business world as healers. So I love that this is becoming more and more a topic that we're all wanting to talk about. And just having that expertise of what you have been through and then creating that, it's almost like, turning that trauma into your power and helping the next people that come along through their journey and making it a little bit easier down the road.
And that's where really we all have started as healers, right? Like you probably experienced this as well. You went through your own trauma of some sort that you found a modality that really helped you. And now you're like, well, here's what I'm meant to do. I'm meant to help others who have experienced the same thing. And so this is why I kind of shifted into helping the healers, because we're not alone. We're also not perfect either. So we still need to do our own healing on ourselves and letting go of that idea that we are now put on this pedestal that we don't have to do anymore, that we've got it all figured out, because I still do my own healing. I have my line of practitioners that I go to. I have another Theta healer that I meet every single week, and we do share sessions together because our healing is never done. And I think it's so important to bring that into awareness and to also provide a space for healers to feel held as they go through their healing without that extra judgment of, well, you should already be healed kind of thing.
100%. Even just going back a year or two, there was this expectation of healers, not necessarily that clients had, but they had of themselves, that we had to have everything figured out. We had to be all-knowing, all healed. And that's just not true. It's just not realistic. And we're not being authentic in presenting ourselves as such. Mm-hmm. So I feel like it's really important to be transparent that you're going through this with your clients in some way, shape, or form, because we're all still growing, we're all still learning. But how has coming into the 3D world of business changed things for you as a healer and as a person, reprogramming your limiting beliefs?
When I first stepped into the business world, I was living and acting out of the more masculine energy. That's just been my norm, and it's felt so comfortable. But with that, I found that I was getting burnt out because I had to follow all those rules that all of these gurus are saying and experts are saying of how to run a business, how to create a business. And it didn't feel aligned for me because I didn't want to be waking up at 5 a.m. I don't care if the most successful people wake up at 5 a.m. For me, it did not feel aligned. So I had all of these rules that I kept living by. And when I didn't follow them, I felt like a failure. I felt like I wasn't going to bring in that success. And again, here's all those limiting beliefs that came up that I kind of had to continue to work through until I got the message that, okay, well, why don't we just break all the rules of business? Why don't we start tuning into that intuitive part within us that knows exactly how to create the success that we want, but still be in a space of our feminine energy, still be in a space of resting and receiving and being in that, I want to say that healer energy, right? So feeling that flowing, that intuitiveness, that ease that comes when we are that divine channel for the work that we do. And since making that shift, I found more success in my business, and it's actually felt more of fun than it is of the traditional work. Because before it felt, oh my God, I really don't want to post on social media today because I'm having my own healing that I'm going through. And I've just bawled my eyes out, but I feel like I have to post because that's going to bring in clients. So now I say, well, I can take a day off because I'm still in that space of alignment that I know success is coming and I know I feel worthy of it because I did all that reprogramming and now I can receive. And as I went through that, I kept a list of all the different beliefs that I had to break And I put it into now what I offer as a free theta healing guide. It's called the Scared to Successful Guide, which has all the beliefs that us as healers have to kind of break and reprogram in order to be in this very open space of abundance and fulfillment. And yeah, again, it's in providing through my own experience the ease for other healers to go through this now.
Yeah. I mean, I'm honestly relating to so like everything that you're saying. And I'm just like, oh my God, this is exactly what I feel. But I think there's a big sense of empowerment when you kind of step out of that masculine business mentality and let that free flow feminine come through, and everything becomes a bit more fun.
Mm-hmm.
You enjoy things a lot more, and you know, in enjoying what you do, you attract so much more success and so many more energetically aligned clients that it doesn't feel like work anymore. You don't have those sort of stresses of, oh, I don't want to go to work today. I don't want to do this. It's something that you become more excited for. But in terms of the balance that has to take place within business and then also being a healer, because I'm sure that we have a limiting belief and we work on that limiting belief, but there's 5 more underneath that, you know? How do we keep, I guess, our awareness on what the next phase is that we're trying to overcome?
I love that question. And I actually, funny that you brought this up, I had channeled this a couple of weeks back because I was kind of navigating through it as well. How do we balance both? And I actually created a course called Channel and Create to do exactly this, because what happens is that we want to be in that feminine energy first. We want to be able to receive, okay, what is it that I want to create for my business, for my life, for my success? How does it look for me? What feels most aligned for me? And then once you receive those messages, it's now asking, okay, how do I put this into practice? What's that next aligned step for me, right? And when we can actually be in that balance of, okay, here's the wisdom I receive, now let's put into conscious practice, there's that balance of that feminine and masculine energy. But so often we dip right into that masculine energy first of, okay, I need to create courses and freebies and I need to set up my website and everything in order to have my business. But we forget that, well, our business or my business is going to look different than yours, right? If I don't want to take on one-on-one clients, which unfortunately I have to kind of not have to, but I feel aligned to shift out of once the baby comes.
Yeah.
Now it's okay. What feels most aligned for me through my channeling has been doing the theta healing trainings, right? And teaching other people how to do this. It's doing lots of courses and masterminds and having my community of beautiful healers supporting each other. That feels most aligned for me. But if I went straight into, okay, I need to take that action and I need to do what everyone else is doing because they're having success. So if they have success, that means I have success. It's not going to feel authentic. It's not going to feel aligned. You're going to feel more of that resistance. And I find that more of those limiting beliefs come up when we are trying to follow a path that isn't in alignment for us. But then when we can be in that space of channeling, you'll still have those limiting beliefs come up. For sure you will, because now you're having to live through love, the virtue of trust. You're going to have to trust in whatever you're receiving is still going to bring you success. But now it feels easier because now you actually are excited to do it. So I'm super excited about creating courses. I love talking. I love doing podcast episodes. So for me, I'm in that flow state and it's effortless. I leave doing these experiences and I'm like, I still have so much energy throughout the day. But if I had to, when I used to have one-on-one coaching clients, I would, like you said, I would dread going to work. I loved my clients, but I was so exhausted from it. And yes, I was making amazing money, but it didn't feel like the right path for me. So there's so much resistance, so much of that. I need to save people. Am I good enough to do this? Can I rest? Like so many of these beliefs that came up that were unnecessary for me to go through. So through the course that I created, it teaches you how to balance the both. And I find that is the best way, is to channel and then create what's in alignment for you.
I love that. And what came up for me as you were explaining this was that if we are just following suit with what everyone else is doing with their business, it just becomes a huge saturation in the market, right? In terms of business.
Mm-hmm.
And if we are just doing the same thing as everybody else and not living in alignment with what feels right for us, then what makes us stand out? What makes us different? What attracts clients to us specifically? And I think a lot of the time we enter a state of mind with business as healers, or even just in general with business, that I started this out this way. This is how I need to do it forever, because this is where I found some form of success.
Mm-hmm.
Things are going to change throughout life. Like, obviously, like you mentioned, you're becoming a parent. And in a very short time, congratulations, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
And things are definitely going to change for you, right? So there's got to be an ebb and a flow and willingness to move through that new transition, through that new phase of life, and working with what's in alignment through that new phase, right?
Mm-hmm. And I love what you mentioned about the oversaturation, because I know that a lot of healers that I work with, they, again, have that belief that, well, this person is already doing it, so why would someone come to me, right?
Yeah.
This person is well known. They've been doing this for 10 plus years. So like, what's the point of me even doing it? But you are meant to be here as a healer, just as a being in general, to connect with others who are in that same position as you, who are in alignment with your energy. They're going to want to come to you for your energy. It's not what your services are. It's really not. It's your energy, right? So you can put out whatever feels good for you, and you are going to have success as long as you believe in it. So this is why, again, it comes down to, well, are you recreating or replicating, or are you creating? Are you replicating what someone else is doing because you see that they have maybe 100,000 followers on social media and they've been doing it for 10 plus years and they have 6-figure incomes, and you think, okay, well, if they're talking about intuition, then I should talk about intuition, because if they have success, then I have success.
Yeah.
In that space of replicating, you are dimming your own light to say, I'm trying to be like somebody else. You're never going to attract your ideal client because you're trying to be somebody else. But if you can create from that place of, well, it feels good for me. Like, I know that, and I'm so grateful that it's starting to spread a little bit more, but theta healing is not a very well-known energy healing modality.
Yeah.
And I try and search on Instagram and TikTok, and most of the time I find theta healers in different countries that don't speak English. So I'm like, I have such a difficult time connecting with theta healers because it's not put out there very much. But I feel called to talk about it because that's me. That's what's helped me do the most healing. So I could talk about intuition. I do a little bit. I could talk about the chakras, but I'm not being authentic to me. So I'm still not going to attract the success that I want, no matter if there's 10 other people talking about it with that massive success. That's because they were creating it, right? And I was replicating it. So I love what you mentioned about really being that authentic self, because it's so important.
Absolutely. And I actually went to an event a couple weeks ago where someone said something to me, and this has kind of stuck with me, about, people obviously replicating what they're seeing on social media, and suddenly, oh, everyone in the community is talking about it. It's like, well, no, they're all just regurgitating the same information. But the question they proposed was, are you being influenced or are you being inspired? Mm-hmm. And I think that creates a huge shift in our perspective as healers, as creators, as business owners, to be more intentional with what we're doing and what we're creating. Are we trying to influence other people, or are we trying to inspire other people? Are we just regurgitating information that we've already heard and saturating the market, or are we aiming to inspire and be inspired?
I love that so much, because I know that one of the practices that I have worked with a couple of my clients on, who are, again, they feel stuck in that, well, everyone else is doing it, or I'm not sure what to do and all that. I say, unfollow all of the healers, the intuitives, light workers that you are currently following on social media.
Yeah.
Unfollow them, because if you just get into that scroll energy, if you're seeing what they're creating before you've created your own, you're going to be influenced, right? So
Yeah.
if you have a difficult time with tuning inward, turning whatever, turning inward and channeling what's in the highest and greatest good for you to create, then remove any of the possibility of you being influenced, right? Remove the consumption and come back to creation.
Yeah.
Even now, when I decide to post on social media, if I do decide to for that day and it feels aligned for me, I'll make sure that I post before I decide to look at anybody. Even if I did, like most of the time, I don't even do any of the scrolling, because I know that, okay, now it's going to bring up some of those beliefs of that comparison mindset.
Yes.
Why am I going to put myself in that position when I know that what I'm putting out there, I went into it feeling so aligned doing it. So why am I going to take myself out of that vibration by saying, well, this person has this many likes and this person has this many comments and this person has this many followers? It's just going to take me out of alignment, and it's not going to create any new inspired content. So remove yourself from any of that possibility to really help you step into that most authentic self as you continue to put your services out there.
Definitely. And I completely agree, because I feel like that element of comparison is like the biggest waste of our human potential. Like, it's just having that comparison. And like, we can look at things with the best intentions and be like, okay, I love what this person is doing. That's working so great for them. I'm so happy. And they're sharing a really great idea. But it then comes down to, but what am I doing? It's a natural response. It's a natural instinct that is very, very hard to not put at the forefront of your mind, no matter who you are. No matter if you are so advanced in your healing journey that it's not the first thing you think about, but it's still on the list.
No, it's so true. And again, that's actually one of the beliefs in that Scared to Successful guide, because it is such a reoccurring pattern that I see in a lot of healers, that comparison mindset is that, am I good enough to do this, right? When it comes down to that core energy, am I good enough to do this? Am I good enough to receive the money, to have the clients, to be successful, to have everything I desire? And until you've identified those beliefs, they're running in the background, right? So you don't even consciously know that you're doing this, that you are limiting yourself, that you're talking yourself down, that you're hiding in that healer's closet, when really you're meant to share your gifts with the world, and you're going to attract your most aligned clients to you when you do that.
And that's the best thing I think about theta healing, in my opinion, is that a lot of the things that come up, you're not even aware of. It's like you can think that, oh, I am so self-aware, and just everything that will come up in a theta healing session is just like none of the shit you thought it was.
Yeah, I completely agree, which is so why I find it such a powerful modality, because it gives you that power to know, well, what's actually running in my mind. I know that recently I've been working on the being seen belief, right? Because I was like, okay, like I'm seeing success, but there's something still not right here. And so when I started to dig, I was actually brought to the belief that I have to prove myself to God. And that just blew my mind, because I was thinking, okay, I grew up religious, yes, but I've been kind of away from that for a while. So why is God still, hanging out in my mind? And I realized that, again, once I found that belief, everything made sense. Not even just on being seen, but other areas of my life where I felt like I had to prove myself. And through releasing that belief, everything has been so much easier. Like even just talking on this podcast, I know the difference in my energy would have been massive if I did it before I removed this belief to now, because now I no longer have to prove myself to anybody. Now, like, this is me, take it or leave it. But before, I would have been like, can I say this? Is this right? Should I even talk about religion? Because that's a huge touchy subject, because of that massive belief that was holding all of these other beliefs in place, and therefore creating the reality that was not serving me.
Yeah, definitely. You bring up an interesting thought there about things that you have stepped away from in the past, but are suddenly re-emerging later on down the track. And I think this is where people think, well, they have this idea that healing is a linear thing. And that's just not the case. Unfortunately, you're going to take a step forward, you're going to take 2 steps back, and then you can take 3 steps forward, whatever. But it's not going to be just one straight road. And I feel like there's so many limiting beliefs that pop up through healers, through people that are business owners, that bring them back to, oh, well, I thought I dealt with this. And if I didn't deal with this, what else am I failing at, basically?
Mm-hmm. I like to see our healing, and especially those triggers and those beliefs that keep coming up, as stairs. So every single time that you up level, that same core belief can make itself known because there's deeper levels for you to heal. It's not to say that you haven't healed, but the version of you that, I'll use the belief around being seen, the version of me that felt safe being seen when I first posted on social media is very, very different than the beliefs that I'm going to work through when I decide to be seen when I publish my book, right? So it's every single time. I like to think of it as kind of like a game, right? Every single time that belief has come up, ask yourself, okay, how am I like alchemizing? How am I transcending? How am I up leveling? In what area am I up leveling? Because now I can do that inner work to say, okay, this is now going to support me at that same level when I'm up leveling, rather than I've fallen back down the stairs, because you haven't. You've done so much. It's now that belief is coming up to say, okay, here's some more work for us to do because we're going to up level. We're going to be expanding so much more. Let's do any of that necessary work that needs to be done to get us to that level.
Yeah, exactly. Like I literally just saw in my head as you were explaining this, you have a glass of water, right? And you have a jug and you're pouring the water into the glass, but there's water spilling out. That doesn't mean that there's not water in the cup. You know what I mean? Like it's not that you're starting from scratch. You still have water in the cup. It's just readjusting and just moving on to the next, rather than, oh, I've spilt the water, just gonna like throw the cup off the bench now. Like just done with it.
No, I love that. I think it's such a good vision as well, because we're, like you said, we're so much harder on ourselves as healers because of that, again, that underlying belief, which I suggest everybody who's listening to test for, because if you have it, you want to release it, that idea that we are perfect, right? That we don't need to do any more healing. So when we are faced with those beliefs that come up again, we're like, but what am I doing wrong? Why am I not able to transcend when I see other healers doing so well and thriving? And I know that a lot of students that have gone through the Theta healing training, they have brought this up as well. Like, Emily, I went through the 3-day training. I released so many beliefs, but I still feel like it's there. And I tell them the same thing. I'm like, well, this is your chance to up level, right? You're such a different person at the beginning of the training than you are at the end of the training because of so much that you've released. So why are you comparing what level of belief you did on healing at the beginning compared to the end?
Yeah, exactly. It's a whole different, well, it's not a whole different ball game, but it's different. It's a variation. But yeah, absolutely. You mentioned something there about testing for a certain limiting belief. Can you explain a little bit more about what the process is for that? If someone is feeling like, hey, I think I have this limiting belief, but I can't be sure, or this is completely subconscious, maybe I should test for it. How do they go about that?
Yeah, so the practice in Theta healing that we use is called the sway test. So it's a muscle testing practice where you stand up, you face north, hands by your side, and you really tune into your body and you say yes, and you see which way your body sways, and you say no and see which way your body sways. Normally your body will sway forward for yes and backwards for a no. And we use this to test out the beliefs that you have. So if you say, I am unworthy, and you sway forward, that means you have that belief. Your cells, tissues, and organs are sending out the information that you're holding on to this energy. And this gives you the opportunity to see exactly what you're holding on to. And this is the practice that I have included in the Scared to Successful guide. So you just literally check off the ones that you do have, you cross off the ones that you don't, because then again, you have that tool and awareness, and I would say, okay, my body is telling me that I feel unworthy. Let's do some healing. Let's do some reprogramming. And the beauty about it is that when you can see that once you've done the work and you test yourself, you no longer have it, it's such an empowering feeling because your body is literally telling you, we don't believe this, right? Rather than saying, did I actually heal this? Do I still feel scared to be seen? Do I still feel like I don't deserve money? No, you're going to be able to know exactly what beliefs you're holding on to and what's limiting you. And I actually love to use this practice for when I am being called to up level, especially for charging for my services. I'll ask myself, or I'll make the belief or say the belief, I am worthy of charging. Now my sessions, one-on-one sessions, are $195. So I am worthy of charging $195. If I sway backwards, I say, okay, well, let me do some healing on this because that is the level I want to be at. Right. Yeah. And so it's such an empowering thing. And again, you're able to use a more feminine energy of healing to help you to grow in that masculine world of business.
I love that. Like, I just thought it's almost like being a human pendulum, right?
Yeah, for sure.
It's it's like letting you know. And I think a big thing with that also is that when people step into the spiritual world or the healing world, they don't really recognize the significance that our body and our senses actually have and how this works with our mental and emotional energetic states. And this is a big frustration that I used to have with like affirmations and sitting there, you know, in the mirror being like, I am worthy and I am beautiful and I am, you know, successful or whatever it may be, but just not believing that and trying to convince yourself, your body's like, no, you're lying to me. And without working on those subconscious limiting beliefs, that's never going to change. It's just going to be you sitting there lying to yourself over and over again because you're not able to do that work to heal that problem because you're not aware of it.
I love that you mentioned that. And I've had a lot of pushback. I actually made a video about how affirmations don't work for this reason, because it's that 5 to 10% conscious mind trying to beat the subconscious into submission to say, we will believe this. And it may work after 2 months, right? You're doing it every single day. But why not instead work on that 90 to 95% subconscious mind in 5 minutes? So that way, when you do use an affirmation or a mantra, now your body says, yeah, you know what? I already believe this.
Yeah,
it's easy for me to make money. It's easy for me to bring in success. I can be seen and be heard, instead of saying the affirmations over and over and over again, like you said, but just feeling icky inside and not feeling like it resonates, because it actually brings up more limiting beliefs, because that undercurrent part of us will give you a whole long list of reasons why it's not true.
Yeah.
And those can bring you into that place of feeling worse about yourself and actually better.
It also just like reinstills that subconscious fear or limiting belief that you're a failure, right? I'm failing at this. Like, why does this work for everyone else and doesn't work for me? And then you're stuck in this kind of victim mentality of like, but I'm doing the things and it's not working, but it works for them. Why doesn't it work for me? And it just creates more and more frustration. It's just not helpful.
And that's why I love the practice of theta healing and now being able to teach others how to do it, because it gives you the tools to take your healing into your own hands. Because if you have access to your own subconscious mind, you get to choose what you believe. You get to choose how you show up. You get to choose if you are going to hold on to the trauma that your parents passed down from you, that religion passed down from you, from past lives, whatever it may be. You get to choose a new way to live, right? And that is so empowering, because now you can have that life that you want. There's no more of that victim mentality, because you have all the tools. And it's unique to you, because your subconscious is going to be very different from mine. So you have the tools to say, okay, this is what I need to work on. I can do it. It's easy. I can do it in 5 minutes. And I do it on myself every single day. I'm like, I need to release this. 5 minutes, sit down, go back on with my day. And it's so much more freeing than saying, okay, I'm doing those same things. I'm stuck. Nothing's changing. Nothing's working. And then again, even getting caught up in, I need to go to all of these different healers to try and fix me. Why not just learn how to fix yourself?
Right? You hear so often about like those serial healers. Like,
Yeah.
I need to go to the next thing. I need to, because I need to fix this. But I can't fix it myself. I need someone else to do it. But that's, again, living in this mentality of just giving your power away to someone else because you don't trust yourself or your own abilities or the sense that you can heal yourself. And it doesn't matter how many times us as healers go, we are just facilitators. Like we cannot fix you. We cannot heal you. This is all healing is self-healing. We just assist you in that process. We facilitate, we hold a space and, hold your hand so you're not doing it on your own. But it comes down to you. It comes down to you fixing that problem, not us.
I love that term, serial healer or healing. I'm not sure which one you used, but I know that this is also a massive block for a lot of healers, is that feeling a need that we have to have like over 10 different certifications and trainings in order for us to say, okay, now I can take on clients, right?
Yeah.
Or now I can charge more for my services. When really all of that is just that buffer for those limiting beliefs to say, okay, and for the ego to say, we're just not ready yet. When we have A, B, and C, when we have our website set up, when we have our email list at maybe 1,000, 5,000 people, then we can start offering our services. But we have so much wisdom within us, free from any modality, right? That if we can even just tune into that, we are such powerful healers for ourselves and others. And I think that's so important to know as well. You don't need that next shiny object, that next shiny healing modality in order for you to be worthy of having your business.
Absolutely. It comes back down to, I guess, as well, that element of feeling like you can't do something without doing something else first. It's almost like that reward system. Like, oh, I can do this once I have this. In everyday terms, like, oh, I can go and book my massage after I've done the 8 hours of work because I don't deserve it yet. I'll deserve it after I've done that. And that is just depriving yourself from what you're needing at that point in time. And I mean, that was a very basic example. Like, there's a big difference between, I guess, I understand wants, needs, all that sort of thing. But it's, again, that mentality of this is a reward. I'll be able to do this then because I've earned it. And I think it's the same with the business analogy. It's like, well, I can have my business now that I've done that certification because now I've earned it. And that makes me deserving and that makes me worthy. But you're worthy just being you.
And that's a huge block in a lot of healers' success, even any entrepreneur's success, because we say, I can have everything I desire. I know for myself, my idea of success was being able to rest, have slow mornings, being able to enjoy life and be on the beach and still make money. That was my idea of success. But for the longest time, I was constantly saying, well, until I have a certain amount of revenue per month, only then can I actually allow myself to rest. Only then can I have my slow mornings. But the problem with that is that you're not embodying right now the reality that you want. So you will never actually have that reality. And it puts you into more of that desperate energy of, well, now I need to get clients and now I need to make this money. And if I don't, again, I'm a failure. And it stops you from actually embodying that success that you want. So it's in knowing, okay, what's that reality that I see myself with my business? Do you have one-on-one clients? Do you have courses? Do you have those slow mornings? Do you allow yourself to rest? And then starting to incorporate that into your day right now. Because as soon as you can do that, now you're energetically aligned with that. So the money follows, that success follows. But again, so often we get caught up in that I need to have A, B, and C, like with the credentials, in order to then have my desires. But it blocks us from actually having it.
Yeah. It's like you are so desperate and striving for what you want that you're actually repelling it.
Mhm.
Like yeah.
Yeah.
The other thing that, I mean, I guess you would be coming up to as becoming a new parent is new limiting beliefs around running a business and being a parent. If you're comfortable, would you mind sharing a little bit about how you're navigating your way through that?
hmm I've worked with a lot of moms actually who are wanting to be theta healers, step into this role. And it always comes down to the beliefs around feeling guilty and feeling like a
Mm,
bad mom. So I've been doing a lot of reprogramming on that on myself and realizing that when I do take the time away to work on my business, to take care of myself, to do the inner healing, I'm also being that beautiful example for my little theta baby of the importance of taking care of yourself, right? And the importance of honoring what my passions are, right? Because I don't want to lose this identity in order to fulfill it with, or to fill it with now the mom identity. So I want to have
yeah.
that divine balance. With that as well, a lot of beliefs have come up around trust because now I'm having to surrender to so much and to let go of so much of that old structure of the business and how the business was run, to realize that those quote unquote rules that I made for myself are probably going to shift. They're probably going to shift because now, and I've talked about this with my partner as well, I really wanted to do the offerings of the theta healing trainings, and it's 3 days on the weekend. So I've made this declaration that that's what I'll focus on for the first little bit. So it's just the weekend. My partner can take care of our little baby, and the rest of the week I'm off. The rest of the week I'm with her. So I found ways to kind of navigate this. And again, it was all through connecting with my highest self, doing that channeling, seeing, okay, what's the next inspired step for me to take, rather than, well, this is how I have to run a business, right? Or this is how I
Yeah.
have to be a mom. It's finding that divine balance between the two. So yeah, things are going to change for the business. I know that, but I also am really embodying that virtue of trust that it's all going to work out in the highest and best way. And that idea of success may change with it.
Yeah, definitely. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds like you have had to overcome a lot of limiting beliefs or trauma around control
Oh
and
yeah.
having control over over being a parent, over being an entrepreneur, a business owner, a healer, because I think especially for new parents, new mothers particularly, having that trust that their partner can manage to do whatever they need to do for that child in an hour or 2 hours, whatever the time frame is, so that they can do something else, they struggle.
Yeah.
They struggle with it because it's that sense of control. It's, well, I know what's best. I need to be there. They need me, and I need to know what is going on. I mean, I struggled with this a lot when my kids were younger. It was, if I'm not doing it, it's not being done right. And and my husband, he was perfectly capable, but it was just letting go of that sense of control and having that trust. And whatever lesson that they had to learn, my partner, my husband, whatever they had to learn through that process was not up to me to take that lesson away from them. So like, even if they, I don't know, for example, didn't heat the bottle right and they had to wait longer for it to cool down to give to the baby or whatever, he would have learnt that lesson then of, okay, well, I don't heat it up as long, or now I have to wait. And now the baby is upset because they've had to wait. So now next time I'm going to do this better. And so if you don't give them that opportunity to learn that lesson and come to that knowledge and independence to be a parent themselves, you're just like, you're robbing them of that experience. So it's not even just a sense of control and a sense of trust, but it's allowing your partner to experience what they need to learn and experience from also being a parent. And I think that is a huge, huge thing.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be an interesting experience because, like you mentioned, there has been that desire, that feeling of safety with control.
Yeah.
And so embodying that virtue of trust and surrendering has definitely been a lot of the healing that I've been going through. And I know it's all leading up to her being here and having to do something like that, where I say, okay, I love you lots. Good luck with the baby. I'm going to go to the training. So,
Yeah.
yeah, it's definitely going to be an interesting experience. But I think that, well, I know that I am open to it and willing, capable, and able to. And this is a next step on that staircase of the healing that I'm being called to go through as a healer.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you for sharing that. I know that's a little
Yeah, that's okay.
bit vulnerable with parenting and stepping into that world as a mom. But I know that a lot of new moms or soon to be moms, because it seems like it's the season of babies right now. Everybody's pregnant.
Seriously. Everybody is pregnant. I'm like, oh my God, what is going on?
So I thank you for sharing because that's going to be helpful for them. But in terms of going through that healing process with control and trust and setting aside, I guess, your boundaries for your identity of I'm still Emily, right? I'm not just a mom, I'm still Emily. How has that triggered maybe some traumas from the past or your childhood that you feel like you've already overcome? You're already on that staircase, but it's coming back up. How are you navigating your way through that?
Yeah, a lot of those old triggers and wounds have definitely surfaced, especially during this pregnancy. I found so much healing. And one of the things that I channeled in my meditations was the reminder that we have a choice. We can either choose to learn these lessons, or the universe is going to give us the opportunity to learn that lesson. And it may not be in the highest and best way. So, like, take the little breadcrumbs of those lessons and learn from there instead of that massive boulder that you're going to have like crushing you. And for me, it's been during pregnancy. So I was constantly pushing away that I don't need to work on the control. I don't need to work on the trust. I actually just talked to my partner today about how I feel like I've been really called to learn the virtue of trust and how I've been working on it for like 1 or 2 years. And he kind of just gives me this look. I'm like, okay, I've been working on it a lot longer, but we're just going to ignore that because I haven't really had to. Like I've had to, and I've been given those opportunities, but there hasn't been something that I couldn't run away from. Whereas with pregnancy, not that I want to run away, but I was boxed in of you have to learn this lesson now. You have to release control. You have to rest, which is also a huge one that I had to embody. You have to rest. You have to slow down. You have to let go of that control. And with that, a lot of healing has come up during these last 9 months. And I'm so grateful for it. But I really wish I would have done the work when it was easier and I had that choice to, rather than now. But some of the practices that I've been doing is a lot of meditating, a lot of just being with myself and understanding myself more and where these beliefs are coming from, why they keep coming up, what is the fears of what would happen if I did trust, if I did rest. That's a question we ask in Theta healing. What's the worst thing that would happen? Right. So I really put myself in that position to kind of dig into the subconscious of what do I actually fear about resting? Because when you think about it logically, you're like, there's nothing wrong with resting. It's ridiculous. But for me, it had brought up so much about being lazy, right? It'd be about not being worthy, about not pleasing my dad because he's a workaholic and I picked that up from him. So meditating, doing a lot of theta healing, and a lot of really putting myself, as I mentioned before, into that reality of the life that I do want, where I'm resting, where I'm trusting, where money flows to me with ease and grace, where I'm able to take care of my baby and not have to worry about the control. So really putting myself in that position, and those tools have really helped me to navigate and still be in some sense of peace during those more turmoil times.
Definitely. If you were to say in like, I'm not going to say one word because that's like really restrictive, but like one phrase or one saying, how has Theta really changed your life? What would you say?
It's more of a question. So it's an asking yourself all the time, every day, especially when you are triggered, fear or love. I love this question so much. And I'm actually writing a whole book about it, which is going to come out at some point. I kind of don't know my schedule with the little baby coming, but it's such a powerful question because when we do act through fear, we're acting out of those limiting beliefs. When we act through love, we are transcending those limitations. So much is possible when we do choose love. So continue to ask yourself those questions of, am I living and acting through love or fear?
I love that. That's amazing. Well, thank you so much, Emily, for sharing with us today, for your knowledge, your expertise, and being vulnerable with us. We really, really appreciate it. And if people are wanting to work with you specifically, and they're wanting more information about your course or theta healing, where can they find you?
Yeah, so you can find me on my website at emilymiotto.com, Miotto, or I'm on a lot of social media platforms at Theta with Emily. And then as well, for all of your listeners, they get access to the free Scared to Successful Theta Healing Guide to start doing this work on themselves. And I just want to say thank you so much for having me here. It's been such a pleasure. I've enjoyed this conversation so much. You put me in that super flow, so thank you.
Well, this is your Earth Side Spirit Guide signing off for the week. If you'd like to know more about how you can work with me, you can follow me on Instagram at l.embers or visit my website lembers.com.